From advertising to software as a service to data.
Across all of our programs and clients, we've seen a 55 to 65% open rate.
Getting brands authentically integrated into content performs better than TV advertising.
Typical lifespan of an article is about 24 to 36 hours.
If we're reaching out to the right person with the right message and a clear call to action, then it's just a matter of timing.
Welcome to the MarTech Podcast, and I Hear Everything production. In this podcast, you'll hear the stories of world-class marketers that use technology to drive business results and achieve career success. We'll unearth the real-world experiences of some of the brightest minds in the marketing and technology space so you can learn the tools, tips, and tricks they've learned along the way. Now here's the host of the MarTech Podcast, Benjamin Shapiro.
Welcome to the MarTech Podcast. I'm your host, Benjamin Shapiro, and today we're going to discuss what's the difference between growth and scaling. Joining us is Troy Sandidge, who is the founder of Strategy Hackers, which is a growth consultancy that is all about taking emerging brands and using sustainable strategies and systems to help them grow and scale fast. Yesterday, Troy and I talked about growing versus scaling, and today we're going to talk about the 4 currencies businesses need to scale. All right, here's the second part of my conversation with Troy Sandidge, the founder of Strategy Hackers. Troy, welcome back to the MarTech Podcast.
I'm back and better than ever.
Always great to have you here, my friend. Excited to continue the conversation. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about the difference between growth and scaling. It's kind of the difference between going 1 to 100 and 100 to 1,000 or 10,000 or 1,000,000 or whatever you're trying to accomplish. But basically what I said at the end of the podcast was, 1, growth is lighting the match. And scaling is pouring gasoline on the fire. You have to have that underlying foundation, understand what your customers' problems are, figuring out where to reach them and how to get them to convert. And scaling is replicating that process at a faster pace. So talk to me about what your thoughts are with scaling. You've got 4 currencies businesses need to scale. What's the money that we need to scale our businesses?
There are 4 currencies you need to scale. And I know I'm not talking about crypto, so you don't have to worry about anything like that. The 4 currencies are your time, your money, your knowledge, and your skill. Simple, easy, but you'd be surprised how many startups, entrepreneurs, even enterprise level organizations are failing because they're not maximizing the 4 currencies that they have. I don't know if anyone remembers playing Pokemon, like the video game, but you always get a starter Pokemon. So in the same way in your business or whatever level you are in your business, you get this kind of starter currency. You either have an abundance of time, maybe you have an inflow of money from an investor or from a very rich uncle. Maybe you have a lot of knowledge, you got your master's degree, you went straight through and got your education, or you just have a natural amount of skill. But I guarantee you don't have all 4, or at least all 4 in the right codex or combination you need to achieve what you want. And so there's always an exchange of one core currency that you have to get the other. So if you want more time, well, you can use your knowledge to build a system to save it. You can use money to pay someone else to maintain it, or you can use skill to buy it back and use it elsewhere. If you want more money, which most people do, you want to use your time to work, learn, network, build up that cloud, build up that portfolio. You want to use your skills to maybe acquire more money in that direction, or you can use your knowledge to optimize how you're making money. All of which to then achieve more money to then reinvest back in yourself, and you double down and go on and so forth. Similar to our conversation previously, going from growth to scaling is taking that time, take that money, reinvesting into those things. So you're less in the deep of the weeds, but you're still making more growth and beyond. If you want more skill, then you want to maybe use your time to try and educate yourself. But the problem maybe with CEOs and certain executives or marketing leaders, you don't have the time to learn more skill. So then you have to go find someone else to help expedite the skill set level on your team if a client or potential opportunity or an acquisition possibility is in play to get what you need to do. And then if you want more knowledge, you want to invest more time in areas that you want to learn, you want to use your skills to pay or barter for more information as already articulated, or the easiest way, spend your money to get educated by an SME. All these different things require an exchange of one of the currencies to get an abundance of another currency and finding that right combination to make you more optimal and more successful.
A lot on the bone there. Give me the 4 currencies one more time.
Your 4 currencies are your time, your money, your knowledge, and your skill.
Time, money, knowledge, and skill. I guess the question I have is what's the difference between knowledge and skill?
I find knowledge is, I understand the concept of football. Skill is how well I can play football.
Okay.
So I understand how to play the game very well. I know the rules inside and out. I can navigate them pretty well. Skill is knowing how to implement, execute, and do those certain things.
Okay, let's get a little introspective here, because this is one of those conversations where we're going to step away from the technology aspect and figure out how to be a better business operator. Troy, this is exactly where I think you are a specialist. How do you figure out which one of the currencies you need to focus on? You've got your time, you've got your money, you've got knowledge that you've already built, and you've got some skills that you have, and you're trying to scale and grow your business. Where should you invest the currencies you have to make the most out of the opportunity in front of you?
I think it's understanding how quickly and how fast you want to go, and understanding your strengths, your weaknesses as well. And we're kind of teasing into the last episode a little bit, but I think it requires a little bit of introspection and really understanding how you work, how you move, and how you want your organization, how you want your business to move as a leader, as a market leader, as executive of that record. Now, time is the most expensive commodity that you have, but it's also the easiest to spend while also being the most costly. So early on in people's careers, early on in your startup, early on in the VC days where you're trying to get private equity, things like that, you're spending more time to network and grinding and going to all these conferences. We just talked about how we might be conference out, but just spending so much time and effort and energy, but that costs you something. And you're hoping by the end of that, the return is leads and opportunities that convert. The return is brand awareness and searchability, that you don't have to do as much of that hustle culture networking style of your time. And you're buying your time back to maybe implement this knowledge and skill. And why am I saying all of this? We can talk about the best systems, and we can talk about what tech stack you need. We could talk about what podcasts you need to listen to, what books you need to read, what thought leader of the week you need to go just follow and consume all their content, which is great. But what things do you need to do right now with what you currently have to get to where you need to go? It requires a certain amount of time, and you probably have a certain amount of knowledge. But when you're trying to get to that next level, there's always something you don't know. And based on how much time you have, yeah, it may be easy to say, I'm going to go on YouTube and learn it, but also to scale, you have to maintain what you currently have. If you don't have the time to maintain what you currently have while also learning something new, and not to mention just your daily livelihood, whether you have a partner, family, friends, just your interpersonal things outside of work-life balance, well, then that requires you to spend money to have someone else do it for you, delegate, and things like that. But having that introspection and understanding where you are with your time, how much money you have to basically invest in improvements and optimizations, and then knowing where your knowledge and skill ratio is, gives you the ability to make quantified, the best educated decisions with what you know to hopefully get the right technology, the right systems, the right people, even design the right clients so you can move and scale accordingly.
I feel like the equation changes depending on what part of your life you're in. I think about going up and getting your education. I've got no skill. I've got no knowledge. I have to go to school. Fortunately, I had parents that helped me pay for a wonderful education. And then you get out of college and you're like, all right, I got to go get some skills. I have to go get into the working market, and I have an abundance of time, but my goal is to make some money. And over time, you're networking, you're working, you're not necessarily focused on building knowledge or getting some of that, but it starts to shift when you start to grow in your career. As I've matured in my career, the demands for my time have become more prevalent. So that takes away from my ability to learn new skills. So I went from all I need to do is learn something to all I need to do is build skills to all I want to do is make money to now I've got no time. How do I use the skills and knowledge I've accumulated to free up my time so I can continue this cycle? How do you think about the progression over time in your career and the difference of currencies that you have and need to focus on?
Wisdom. The other thing I think more than anything is change. The question is, are we just too comfortable with our current situation? And are we afraid to adapt and change our day-to-day to what we've grown accustomed to achieve more? We all say we want this, but we don't change to acquire that. And to change, you change your spending habits, change how you use your time, change what you consume, change everything about you to a certain extent to get to where you need to be. And I think for me personally, when you're looking at going from maybe early on in your career where it's just time consumption is your only currency that's abundance to you at the time to get you where you need to be. So now you're flipping the script that my time is the most valuable thing to me as a CEO, as an exec, where I just want to delegate. That means I need to have more money to continue to delegate, pay for systems, pay for structures to do what I need to do. But that requires a change in mindset. That requires a change in processes and systems. And the last thing is you have to think how you want to be and not think where you are now. If I want to make moves to acquire a $10 million client, I can't think like I'm a $100,000 business. I have to adjust and change to meet that demand, even if that demand isn't there yet, because we're making moves and we're building the systems and processes to therefore do so. So we create the capacity that when that opportunity comes, we can acquire it and take it. And I think change is that key factor that we're so used to spending those certain currencies or that go-to currency where, wait a minute, does me spending this currency in this mannerism at this pace, at this rate, is this costing me more in the long term for easy win success? I can keep playing the lotto. Maybe I get $200 here, $20 there, $5 there. Or can I put my money in the compound interest portfolio, be patient, use the same amount of time, and look how much more money I've acquired? Now, I'm not a financial expert. That's just an analogy.
I get where you're going.
But it's the same thing when it comes to your currencies.
Yeah. At the end of the day, there's the resource allocation that whether you're thinking about your personal, your professional growth, or whether it's something that's happening in your business, there's always this balance of resources. And it's not just how much money am I putting in? It's not just how many head count am I thinking about? It's how are we investing in the people, in the processes, in the systems, in the knowledge that we have institutionally that help you grow your business. There's a reason that some of the most successful businesses in the world are constantly focusing on giving their workforce the tools and resources they need to continually grow, to continually get better, because as you develop, so will your output. And that wraps up this episode of the MarTech Podcast. Thanks for listening to my conversation with Troy Sandidge, the founder of Strategy Hackers. Join us again tomorrow when Troy and I wrap up our conversation talking about the 6 I's to sustainable growth. If you can't wait until our next episode and you'd like to learn more about Troy, you can find a link to his LinkedIn profile in our show notes. You can contact him on Twitter, where his handle is FindTroy, FindTroy, or you can visit his website, which is findtroy.com. Just one more link in our show notes I'd like to tell you about. If you didn't have a chance to take notes while you were listening to this podcast, head over to martechpod.com, where we have summaries of all of our episodes and contact information for our guests. You can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter, and you can even send us your topic suggestions or your marketing questions, which we'll answer live on our show. Of course, you can always reach out on social media. Our handle is MarTechPod, MarTechPod, on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or you can contact me directly. My handle is Ben J. Shap, BenJShap. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you want a daily stream of marketing and technology knowledge in your podcast feed, we're going to publish an episode every day this year. So hit the subscribe button in your podcast app and we'll be back in your feed tomorrow morning. All right, that's it for today. But until next time, my advice is to just focus on keeping your customers happy.